Well, welcome to Tier 11 Live. We're in a different location every week, John Moran. You're in where again? What
I'm in
state?
Wisconsin. Yeah, I'm in Milwaukee.
My gosh, what are you doing in Milwaukee?
Nothing really much here.
There's not really a lot going on.
I don't know if there's pretty much nothing in Milwaukee.
It's a lot of beer in Milwaukee, I hear.
And a lot of cheese. Actually, some really good cheese. Yeah, we went to lunch today and had some cheese curds. I'm like, man, if I lived here, I'd gain 50 pounds in like a month.
Yeah, my cholesterol would be like 300.
I know. I finally just got it down, and all of a sudden we, take a trip here.
You take a trip there with some cheese. We'll stay away from the beer anyway. I know you don't drink, but anyway, that's good. I'm in Maine. Maine is in the state of Maine at our little cottage here. So the sun is just about to be right in my eyes. So I might need to change location, but that's what makes lives fun.
Yeah.
It's completely unedited, and you're in like in a different place. I'm in a different place, but the lives just keep going on.
Exactly. The show must go on, like we say, but it's kind of cool because, we're marketers. We're not, well, at least, you are full-time, kind of podcaster and marketer. I'm just a marketer. And so like, this is, raw and uncut, and because it's free, you get what you pay for. So
that's right. There's zero production value here.
We have zero budget, and it's really your fault.
We have no budget. We've allocated zero budget except yours and my time.
Yeah.
But you're like $2,500 an hour. So this is like $2,500.
That's true.
It's true. So, we're paying for it with time and or money. We're paying for it with both here. But anyway,
I'm just saying, like Soren, Tyler, Jose, you're all getting bills. I'm just saying.
That's right. You're all being invoiced. We have an automatic invoice mechanism. So if you ask a question, we send you an invoice for $2,500.
Yeah. You pose a question, you get a PayPal. It's how it works.
Kidding. That's right. There is such a thing. Like you can have like a donation. Like I haven't really figured out any of that technology anyway, because we don't have a producer. It's just me and you. So maybe at some point in time, we'll try and monetize this. But for right now, it's just Ralph and John this week. There's no Lauren. There's no creative. So you guys were doing that last week, actually with TJ, which was actually kind of cool. I saw that replay. Yep. Very well done there. Today we're going to go back to, and that's what a lot of these lives are going to do. We're going to integrate our creative with traffic on the traffic side with John, chief traffic strategist at Tier 11, and then Lauren Schwartz, who has recently joined Tier 11 from Loft 325, one of the best creative ad agencies I've ever seen. Now they're a part of what we're doing over here to try and revolutionize the industry. And then we're going to be talking a lot about data and the Tier 11 data suite solution, which you can kind of get piecemeal, but we're going to talk about that in future shows. But today is really sort of back to basics, back to when we first started this, and just an ideal. It's like, hey, let's just do a Friday Live, me and you, which is the Google two-step strategy. So I feel like you should be like doing some kind of dance with the two-step.
I know, right? It's a two-step. I'm gonna figure out something to do for that.
Yeah. So, you got the flannel shirt. So, two-stepping, I think it's like a country thing, I believe. But we're talking about like a Google strategy here. So this is the update. So a lot of folks, which is really cool. I don't know if you've seen this or not. And I talked about this with Lauren Petrullo this week, is that a lot of people are tagging us in posts on LinkedIn, telling us that the stuff that they've either learned on perpetual traffic or the lives is now working for them. So I know everyone in here is asking questions and we're trying to give feedback and so forth, but tag us in posts. Like, we'd love to see that kind of stuff because we're all developing these strategies together. Obviously, John is doing it in the crazy, the Tier 11 traffic lab, but it's very cool to see people getting results. And there's been a couple just this past week, which I think are absolutely killer. One of which was specifically around this strategy here. So, but yeah, tag us there and then we'll respond. But yeah, let's get right into the follow-up. I don't even know what's coming. I just know this is like the follow-up on the original strategy.
Yep.
And there's even cooler results here. So,
So this is going to be a follow-up to the dual prong strategy. So the feeder strategy, two-step strategy, whatever you want to call it. It's been coined different things because I don't like labels and I just think of things on the fly. But this is essentially adding in a traffic campaign alongside of a conversion campaign. And the conversion campaigns are going to be 4 things: maximize conversions, maximize conversion value with a TCPA or TROAS. So those 4 different types of campaigns. Now, a traffic campaign is going to be something like a manual CPC with eCPC, which actually goes away in 2025. It's actually eCPC is going away in manual bidding, which is kind of crazy. New news there, but that's going to go away next year. Along with YouTube. YouTube's going away next year. More on that soon. Right. But the feeder strategy, by buying the clicks and the traffic and buying the conversions, is a way for us to teach our own tag, our own kind of conversion action, the algorithm, what people are interested in, what people are ready to convert, rather than just buying people that may be interested or just buying people that are ready to convert. So it's a fairly simplistic strategy when you're looking at the types of people, I guess you could say, that you could buy in Google, or bid on, which is you can either bid on people that are ready to buy, which is your conversion base, or you can bid on people who are searching, which is traffic. Combining those 2 together with the model that we put together, which is essentially 20% of your daily ad spend should be delivered to traffic, and 80% of your daily ad spend should be delivered to conversions, in order to get your conversion-based bidding strategy to scale in a restrictive environment. Meaning that everyone that's on this call here, if you have, or watching it, joining live, whatever it is, I would venture to guess that you have been in a situation where you're like, hey, the CPA is good, my TCPA is being met, but I simply can't spend anymore. It just won't. I can put $1 billion a day, won't spend anymore. Right. And that's because Google's saying, hey, I just don't either know or think that there's traffic out there that I can buy at that restricted bidding strategy setting, that goal, whether it's a TROAS or TCPA. So this is to teach it. Now, the other thing that you're going to notice is that we always, since inception that you've really seen any one of my videos, tier 11 videos, whatever it may be, have always said that in-app performance is, the reporting is complete false. It's completely fake. The information that Google wants you to see is conversion-based, not traffic-based. You could buy 100 clicks on Max Clicks, and they may report 50% of those that convert. And that's by design. Google wants to give you only the people that they can convert, because they can charge the most. They can continue to charge even more when it's successful. And they get to choose how to divide up the sales or the leads by whoever's wanting to play ball. So the little guy or little girl in the industry can go up against the big dog in the industry. Like, you may not be, Nike shoes, but if you develop Fikey shoes, you can have a seat at the table of people who wants to buy shoes. And it's great. I mean, I think it's a model that works until you're ready to scale and eat into more of, Nike's market share. That's where everything fails. And that's where 99% of the businesses can't scale, is because they're trying to buy the sales. And Google's like, well, out of 1,000 people, I have 100. I'm going to divide them up. Whoever wants to have the highest amount of ad spend and take the least amount of profit, and because that means there's more profit for me, and I get to dictate that. So this kind of counteracts that. And I want to give you an update that is going to look worse in app. But then we get an email from the owner. Now, we've already known how this has been performing. We already know this. We're working well because we're watching top line only. But this is reiterating the importance of not believing Google Ads performance tracking. And it's going to only really get worse. Like, it basically should have hit its peak worseness in September of this year. So last month, it shouldn't get any quote unquote worse than that. But we launched this as Google was removing more and more of its third-party cookies and its conversion tracking capabilities. So I'm going to share a screen, and I'm going to give you one campaign's use case, and then I'm going to share with you the actual results. And this is where things get very, very, very interesting, because as I've said always since the inception of time, that in-app performance does not mean anything. So I'm on my laptop.
If that's a new concept for you, and this is maybe your first time, and thank you for reiterating what this strategy is. We're sort of assuming that most of the people that are on today's call have seen some of the previous videos. So this is basically you're feeding data, your own data, back into Google, literally. So it's the feeder strategy, it's the two-step strategy, traffic, then plus a conversion campaign, which then allows you to be able to scale past sort of that limitation, that sort of that thermostat or that governor that Google puts on you when you're bidding, just purely for conversions. But the in-app metrics, and this is the same with Meta as well, is that they can't be believed, especially when you're multi-channel. There was a time and a place when Meta only, we say this all the time, is if you were Meta only and that's all you had, then yeah, sure, you got a lower ad spend, you're not trying to scale, you can look in app. But when you're going, this is a multi-channel world that we live in now. Like there's lots of different ways in which people can convert, and the in-app metrics are just not the metrics you should be looking at. You should be, yes, glancing at them, viewing them, but not using them as your master. Your master really should be ultimately what's happening inside the CRM, where the money is collected at the end of the day. But like that, if that's a foreign concept to you, that's something you have to sort of wrap your head around. It's a theme that we have been beating to these tier 11 lives, as well as over on perpetual traffic as well. So take it away.
Cool. Yeah, it's always, you're never going to get fired by having poor in-app performance, but a scaling profitable company. That's it. Whether you work for the company or an agency of the company, freelancer for that company, doesn't matter. No one's going to be like, man, I made more money than I've ever had in my entire life after I've hired you. But it's a 1x return in-app, so you're fired. That doesn't ever happen. Right. Or they do, but those are bad business owners. So it's a minority. Anywho. That's true. So,
you should fire them.
I've had that happen, and I have fired clients because of that. Yeah. And I'm on my laptop, so I'm only seeing my screen here that I'm sharing. Are we sharing right now?
Yeah, we are.
Perfect. Okay. I no longer can see the podcast. I can only see this here because I don't have one screen right now. But so this one here is the dual prong, two-step feeder, whatever you want to call it, in California since inception. Now I have a TCPA here and a max clicks. Same keywords. TCPA is using broad match. Max clicks is using exact match, and that's by design. Max clicks is going for the highest amount of intent, exactly how I want it, with good positioning and low CPC, and the TCPA saying of all those people that I can find on my own and the people that came first click from max clicks, I will go convert them. So what's nice about this is since September 9th, so it's been a little over like a month and a half, we've been able to spend 70 grand inside of California. So 55K on TCPA, 15 grand on max clicks. Now what you'll see is that my TCPA is doing a 272 ROAS in app, and my max clicks is doing a 215 ROAS in app. What's kind of also interesting though is when you look at 55 grand versus 15, you have 12,000 and 13,000 clicks. So the CPC on max clicks is very, very cheap. It's $1 compared to $4. Yeah. So your max clicks is high intent, but because Google says, I don't know if these people are gonna convert or not. Right. It's like, okay, so I can actually spend like 75 cents less on these people, but still get a 215 versus a 272 ROAS. Great. So you can see how and it's the same keyword. When Google thinks it can sell somebody, look how much more they charge you. It's ridiculous. Same keyword. And these are broad match at $4 and my exact match at $1. It's everything we've ever known just flipped. It's complete BS. It's no longer an auction. It is 100% price fixing. But check this out.
Because they know the intent.
Exactly. Hey, I think this is going to convert, and if I charge you $4, I can meet your TCPA. If I had a more restricted TCPA, they'll probably give me the same amount of traffic, but for $3. Right. It's all BS.
But you're clearly calling out the people that are interested. That's the whole idea. Is you're creating the market for yourself to then scoop up those conversions with the secondary campaign.
Exactly. And what's funny too is you can see how much more intentful these people are. Out of 55,000 impressions, 13 clicks. Out of 100,000 impressions, 12,000 clicks. So I have more clicks with half the impressions. And that's because this is intent, but not everyone's ready to buy, but you still want them. You still need to introduce yourself. It's asinine to think, well, if I don't get a sale, I'm not going to get the click. It's like, that's the opposite of what marketing's about. It's like, hey, don't let anybody in the store unless they're going to buy something. Yeah, you have 3 people in your store that day.
Right. Exactly. I mean, it's so rare. It's funny when I say this because we always talk about like the customer journey. Like the natural way that people buy is more than one step. However, I just broke my own rule today. I was trying to find like our tier 11, our most recent tier 11 Instagram post, and I saw this light. Because Allison told me like our lighting sucks. So I found this light that looked really cool on Instagram. I literally saw the ad. It was a video ad. I clicked. I went over to Amazon, of course, to see if it was, free shipping. They didn't offer that exact product, but then I bought right there. So I was one click over to Amazon and then back to the site. And then it was Shopify because they had all my stuff like preloaded.
Yep.
I'm like that. I was like, wow, I should probably say that on live today because it's not always that you go through like 27 steps before you buy.
Right.
I mean, that's $150 purchase, but it's something that I actually did need. And I'm sure my phone was listening to me, so they knew what I wanted. But the point is that's the exception to the rule.
Yeah. And what's funny is this is the exception to the rule. And then this is the rule. And I get to buy the exact same amount of people just with 1/5 less, or 4/5 less of the ad spend. So here's what's interesting. We're going into an off season for this company. This company has a service that talks about, or service that has something to do with rental vehicles of a recreational vehicle type. So I'm going to leave it at that, so I don't give away, any kind of personal or client information. But you have to know the industry, and so this is going into an off season, which is more holiday, winter. It's not really going to pick up until, kind of late Q1 2025. So you can see even in the entire account, we've actually pulled back $156,000. We're down 38% in the last month and a half. That is a massive pullback.
Yeah.
But because we're buying so much more traffic, than what we would have been buying if we just didn't use this strategy. This is the email, and it's called Great Win because this is from the client. This is actually since very close to inception. And what you're going to see is 2023 on the left-hand side and 2024 on the right-hand side. Yeah. And this was an email to us that says, hey, great job, exactly what we want to see, yada, yada, yada. And I'll highlight here, if you look at both of these sides here, we have pulled back in ad spend more recently. But what you'll see is in the 73,000 that was spent last year, it was 281,000 in rev. This year is 53,000 in ad spend that we're looking at here and 389,000 in revenue. So there's $108,000 more revenue for $20,000 less spend. That is a massive swing. And you know why? It's because everybody that was not ready to buy, that Google could have bid on, seen that they're ready to buy, called it a conversion, reported the conversion, and said, yep, I did that. All of the people that it can't see doing that, those are your max clicks campaigns.
Right.
Those are all the people that Google had no idea if they're going to buy. And those people are going to come back directly, organically, sign up for email, come back 2, 3, 4 weeks later. All the stuff that Google can no longer see, all the stuff that Google can no longer predict, it's still going to happen. People didn't wake up one day and be like, hey, you know what? I'm no longer going to buy a sink in 3 days. I need to wait 27 days because Google can't track me anymore. No, people have no idea what Google Ads is. Right. So it's human nature hasn't changed. The platform has changed. And that's why I always say is take your mindset out of the data and put yourself back into the 34-year-old female in Mississippi that wants to take her family on vacation. They have no idea what Google Ads is. They have no idea what we're doing. But that did not change, period. So all of the people that Google said, I don't think or I don't know that person's going to buy. Well, I said, well, I'll take 1/5 and I'll buy all of them. And then boom, we 5x our profitability in a month.
And that's the coolest part of this is that usually when people think scale, they think more ad spend, right? But we've had so many people come to us recently that have said, I just try to scale, I try to add more, but I add 100% more and I get 20%. I add 100% more on my ad spend, but I got 20% more in sales. Yeah. Like that sucks. So we're here, you're proving the point that you can actually spend less and make more, which seems almost too good to be true.
We doubled our clicks. If you think about it, we doubled our clicks for 20% more. Google wants you to spend 100% more to 20% increase your clicks. It's the exact opposite.
It's the exact opposite.
And imagine going to the store and being like, hey, I'd like to buy an apple. They're like, okay, it's $1. I'm like, wait a minute. I want to buy 10 apples. They're like, well, that's $2 each now. You'd walk out. Like, wait a minute, should this get cheaper?
Yeah, that's so fun. It's so funny. We have we're selling podcast advertising on perpetual traffic, and we had a banner that basically said, if you buy double the amount, we'll double your price. We'll triple your price. I'm talking to my sales team, like, what are you guys doing? Like, no wonder we can't get anybody to buy a 6-month engagement. They're like, oh, I double the amount, but you triple the price. It's like, this is exactly like what Google does. But I mean, hopefully we've changed it.
Buy 2 for the price of 3. How can we go
buy 2 for the price of 3? Oh my god! Well, even us as marketers, we fuck up sometimes. So, whatever.
It's funny. It was like we went from spending 100% of our money in getting 12,000 clicks, and now 120% of our money for 25,000 clicks. Like, it is unbelievable, and all of that just because we can't see it does not mean it doesn't happen. It's just Google can't report on it. Their whole infrastructure is built on, did I track a conversion? That's it.
Yeah.
Their goals, their CPC. Everything. This is the reason why when I kill conversion tracking, I can scale the moon, because Google's like, oh, you're not doing too good. And I'm like, okay, I'll buy exact match on manual CP on max clicks. I even let Google set the budget. And it's like, all right, 75% cheaper because we don't think these people are going to convert. But my keyword strategy is dialed in, so it happens anyway. So that's what's cool, is this model works extremely well. It just, you just have to say, like, well, is a person that's going to Google search this keyword have a good chance to buy? If so, don't be like, well, I should probably pay 4 times more for it at a restricted bidding strategy. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Right. Makes sense.
It doesn't make sense at all.
So we've officially pissed off TJ Kelly. We just kind of comment. He's like, hey, that was an old slide deck.
I like you called him out right on the line.
I know, you don't just call him out.
Man, you just name drop.
I know. Too bad. It's okay. So, hey, I approved it. So ultimately it's my call. So, but yeah, this is an amazing thing. So I can't wait till we do something like this on Meta, because we've seen so many times where we have gone non-conversion, like website conversion, and our CPMs are 10x less. Literally, you're getting a $40 CPM, and then you turn on like a traffic or a video view or brand awareness or a reach campaign, and the CPMs are like $4, $3. And it's like, can you prime the market in the same way on Meta? I mean, obviously, Google is more search intent, so it's a slightly different strategy, but we have used that in the past. And, we have a case study. We just actually presented it on Perpetual Traffic this past week, where we talk about that. And it's the same kind of thing. If you think about this, is like you're doing your branding for yourself. You're actually branding yourself, showing the intent, and then getting them to be interested, but you're doing it with an objective that's just cheaper than the objective that Google knows you make money off of.
Right.
So, like, you're actually purposely, I mean, Google's been deceiving us for years. Let's not kid ourselves. So it must feel kind of nice for you to be able to kind of pull the wool over their eyes a little bit on the strategy.
You know what's so funny is I almost can't believe that everybody at Google unanimously at the same time just went, yes, if they're not going to buy today, they'll never buy. And everyone just chanted that. And then they built that into the algorithm. They're like, this is gold. Like, it's unbelievable. It's almost arrogant when you're like, no. We know everybody that ever wants to buy anything ever. It's like, no, you don't. It's not possible. Like, you can't predict the future. Yeah. So it's funny is they're like, no. We're fairly confident in that. So we're going to build our whole algorithm, and then we're going to force you into it. But it's like, I can see the profitability, because they're like, but we'll make triple. I'm like, okay, that makes sense now. That's why you're doing that.
Yeah. Makes sense.
It's like we can charge 3 times the CPC because we know they're going to buy. We take all of the hard work out of the advertiser. It's like, no, don't worry about your keyword strategy. Just go broad. Don't worry. Right. Shoes equal,
shoes.
That works.
Shoes. That's good enough.
If you bid on shoes and give me a year and $100,000 of your ad spend, we'll figure out what people want to buy from you. It's like, right. Great.
And then it's like that used car salesman with like the plaid suit. Hey, come on.
Right.
Trust me. Got a deal for you. Trust me. I'm an honorable guy. Right. So what's the plan for these guys? Because I know in that email they said, all right, this is great. We love you guys. This is awesome. But it's like, we want a 10X. Because right now is a little bit, it's in this weird sort of, and if you have a seasonal business, that's warm weather related in this particular case, in most cases. And obviously there's plenty of warm weather in lots of different parts of the country, but it's like overall, this is an interesting time. Like what's our plan moving forward for the next month, 3 months, and into the next year? What's your sense at this point?
Yep. So what's interesting with them right now is because we're going into a slower season, and I don't want to give away their model because it's fairly unique, and I would never want to leak anything to the competitors, but they have a very specific type of inventory that's not up to them. And this time of year, it is dwindling faster than we can pull back demand. So we're actually sending over too many leads. So we actually have a
that won't be fulfilled and won't be monetized, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So their inventory is way down. So they're like, hey, we actually let's just say profitability and pull back. So we're just reallocating spend from the areas that have the highest amount of spend and the least amount of inventory to the areas with lower spend that are in goal that have a lot of inventory. So we're just reallocating right now while we wait for the springtime to come about where inventory becomes replenished, and then we can kick this back up. But even in our downturn, we scaled back and made them $100,000 more. So I can't wait for the scale.
Oh my God, the scaling is going to be so much fun. So, that's a really good point though, because you're not like, I mean, you're the chief traffic strategist, but you're involved in their business. Like I mean, I know this is basics for you, but I think this is what a lot of agencies forget, and what a lot of people that are doing traffic keep the big goal in mind. Understand the economics, understand the intricacies of the business. If you're sending a ton of leads, there's no such thing as all leads are great leads. Only some leads are great leads.
Right.
And as a result of that, if you're sending leads that can't be fulfilled and can't be monetized on the back end because the fulfillment isn't there, or the inventory isn't there, you're wasting their money. Exactly. So that's a conversation that you have to have with the client so that you understand, or with your boss, or, whoever it is that you're working with in deploying these types of strategies. And that's the base foundation of all of this. The two-step strategy is great.
Yeah.
But it's like the basics of business, the business metrics that really matter are understanding how their business functions, which is you're intimately involved with that.
Exactly. The two-step strategy says, hey, this is a more effective way to buy traffic and conversions than Google. It's more effective on the downturn, and it's more effective on the scale. But we never look at our in-app performance and say, no, Mr. Client and Mrs. Client, I'm going to spend more of your money regardless of what you say, because the in-app says it doesn't matter. It's business building and it's business efficiency. It's the only that's what's great too, is they even give us a free pass. They even said, hey, you guys are doing so well that even though we're having inventory issues, we can never blame you. And I said, that sounds great, but you're still going to fire us if I throw all of your money out the window. Right. So that, we have to adjust based on your business model. So that's the difference of measuring in-app versus measuring top line, and also having realistic business goal conversations with the client rather than just, hey, I'm a freelancer that runs your traffic. It's you're leveling yourself up to a higher echelon.
Yeah.
What's interesting too is we actually deployed this in Meta for our good friends that of that we've been doing the cloned ABOs on.
Yeah.
We added a traffic strategy and then bid capped it, and it's working extremely well. So I won't. This is really like just starting off. So I'm going to share screen. We won't go too big into this strategy. This will be saved for another podcast because I like doing case studies. I do not like doing theoretics. But so far, we added a traffic strategy to this. And you can see this is just this last week.
Yep.
Where we have scaled up our costs from 20 grand up to 55. Customers went from 187 to 347, and our NCAC only went up like $30. Or $40. So this is scaling up really, really, really well. So I'll have more information on this. This is a Meta only strategy, but it is of the same. You'll see there's kind of a new one that's called a bid cap that's scaling up like crazy, and it's also a traffic strategy that just started. It doesn't even have a previous spend level to it, but is already getting 4,000 people compared to 17,000 people for only $1,600 compared to 42,000. So much, much, much cheaper traffic, much more plentiful. And we keep setting kind of even new records in Amazon because the traffic is so cheap and so plentiful that when they say, I kind of like this, but don't care about who you are. I just want to go see if you have good reviews on Amazon, if other people buy it, and if I can get it free tomorrow. And so that thing, it's hitting literally every week we make a new record in Amazon. So yeah, you got to take obviously that full consistency, but the dual prong strategy in Google is now becoming also the dual prong strategy in Meta. So we'll have some more information about that soon.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. Can't wait for those case studies. I mean, at the end of the day, algorithms are very similar. I mean, I think I mean, I remember Qasim or you, I forget who got this, but you got a leaked memo that they have 72 million data points in every human on the planet.
Yeah.
And I believe it's about 55,000 on Meta. It's probably more now. The point is that's a lot of data points. So they understand exactly what's happening. And on the back end, you've got very smart engineers figuring out these algorithms. And at the base of it, a lot of it's very similar. Yeah. So it doesn't surprise me that a Google strategy translates over to Meta and vice versa. So one last thing before we get to questions is the second part of this is there is a lead plus fulfillment and then plus money captured, sort of an offline conversion, like the money that they actually get back into the business. Is that being worked on for offline conversions? What's the status of that? Because they were really looking at bookings primarily as your endpoint, and now you're moving to more of like a business metric that really matters. Is that in the works, or where is that sort of as far as its evolution?
Yeah. So what ends up happening is we have people that request something and then people that fulfill something.
Right.
Client facilitates that. So we're responsible for the requests.
Think of it like Airbnb.
Yeah. They're responsible. Right. We're responsible for the request. They're responsible for the fulfillment. We are tracking an app, the people that request. We are using their CRM tool to identify the areas that people are fulfilled. So we're going to take those fulfillments as offline conversion actions. We're going to import them through API in real time back into Google Ads so that we can see down to the zip code where we are sending the requests and where they're getting fulfilled. So think of it like stocks. Like we're sending like bids and asks, and we can see the people that are actually selling or buying. So what's nice is we get to then see kind of both sides of this. So we'll be able to see, okay, we had 10 requests and 7 got filled. In this area, we had 10 requests and 2 got filled. But the area that got 10 requests and 2 fulfilled, that had a better CPA than the 10 and 8. But the 10 and 8 made them more money. So we're going to be able to see like what are the areas that we have the most amount of requests for the lowest CPA and the highest amount of fulfillments at the lowest CPA. And then we're going to combine those two together to reallocate budget in real time and then confirm with backend metrics.
Right. And that's like that's the next level step.
Yeah.
I think, it's if you're running traffic, like traffic is one component. Traffic and creative ultimately is just a means to an end, which is to grow a business. And at the end of the day, growing a business means bringing in more revenue than you have as costs. And then that's how you reach profitability and growth that scales. Metrics that matter, growth that scales, by the way. And Allison will probably be very happy that I mentioned that, our new marketing slogan on this call. The point is that that's the ultimate goal here. And it's like, you can't ever forget that. And that's one of the big things I think that's been a breakthrough and something that you and I really vibed on very early on is like marketing is just a means to an end. Right. And in this particular case, like you're going one level deeper. These guys are cool. They're like, hey, you can't really control that. We're like, well, actually, we can. Yep. We can help you make more money at the end of the day by focusing in on the areas where you're actually making the most money. Yep. And that's sort of a next level relationship, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that was nice too, is that we can adjust on the fly to increase an efficiency or fix a problem by the time the client sees it.
Yeah.
Even in their own backend metrics. So it's fairly interesting that we can say like, hey, we saw better CPA here, but we saw that there was low inventory here. And we actually started to increase our global GMV by 16%, which is bad. So we did this instead. And now we've reduced this. By the way, good morning. That's how we want this thing to operate, so that we have quarterly goals that we're scaling to by the time they wake up. That's how we want this thing to run. There is another update too. So
even more bonus content here that I wasn't even aware of.
There's more in the lab. And Joey Bidner, if you're watching, I hope Joey Bidner is watching, because this is something that he's been trying to figure out, which is the feeder strategy for shopping. So
there's more in the works. Yeah, more in the works.
We're busy in the lab.
nice open loop there. Yes, the law of accountability, TJ. That is absolutely the law of accountability. He's using our tier 11 laws against me here. Yep. That's it. I'm ultimately responsible. No, love you, buddy. All right.
Yep.
So let's get to some questions here. Your Q&A, we're 6 minutes past. I can't believe. Is there something specific you want to answer first? As you see,
here's what I'll do is I'm going to tease just a preliminary. So this is actually really important. We're going to cover this in the next episode because I'll have a lot more data. Performance Max has recently, this last week, said it no longer takes priority over shopping indefinitely. Okay. So before, you couldn't run the feeder strategy because you can't run 2 different shopping campaigns for the same search term because it decides the search term. And you can't run PMax that does heavy remarketing on a feed only and standard shopping because standard shopping simply just succumbed to PMax because of priority. So now Google said, hey, rolling out in October, doesn't tell you when and doesn't tell you which account, but rolling out in October that Performance Max no longer takes priority over standard shopping.
Yeah.
So now standard shopping is really good, high value, single clicks, high intent, only cold traffic inbound. And PMax is like, well, I'll remarket 40% of the traffic and take all the credit for it. So I started this a couple days ago. Some campaigns and some accounts did, some accounts did not. Imagine about a 60-40 split, 60% of our, and I just shared screen. Let me know when it pulls up.
It's there.
Cool. 60% of our accounts did not work. This one is. So we'll see here, Performance Max feed only on a particular product. This one in just the last 2 days made 35 conversions. So went from like 7 up to 42. And our shopping campaigns reduced by 22. So there's a delta of 15 positive there. So it still looks like it's eating into it a bit, but this is actually what's cool is the spend levels only changed $276 down in our shopping after we add 722 into PMax. So we're starting to scale this one up and not really seeing too much of a point of diminishing returns, but we're using single product ad campaigns. So think of a hairbrush and standard shopping, hairbrush and PMax. You used to only be able to run one of them. Now they're both running. This could be the start of our feeder strategy in shopping. We'll have a lot more on that as I have a lot more data.
Ooh, that's very cool.
Yeah.
Kind of answers this question from Soren here to a certain degree. What's your take on the latest update? And that was pretty much it. I think anything more to add?
No, Soren, when I see that, I jump in immediately and start testing in multiple accounts. So I'll have more for that. But yes, the feeder strategy for shopping could potentially be alive.
Yeah. Yeah, there is a question in here. Where do you actually think up all these ideas? I think because you're in Wisconsin, you have a mobile lab and you open up like this big case, you bring it around with you, and there's test tubes and stuff smoking everywhere. Like, I think so it doesn't matter where you go.
You know, like Breaking Bad, how they had their lab in an RV. That's basically
That's it. Someday we got to do a show from your RV.
I was gonna be naked in the apron holding a beaker. Be like, that's what I found out.
Holding a beaker, that's right. I'll be your side. I forget the sidekick's name. Anyway, I won't be doing any crack. My heart can't take it. That's it. Oh my God, so good. All right. Tyler C is question. In what situation would you advise dynamic ad creative versus one creative combo per ad? This might be like a meta question.
Yeah. So if anything to do with display, I actually don't like dynamic creative. Even video, don't like dynamic creative. The reason why I don't is because I cannot have control or visibility as to why something worked and why something did not.
You don't know what combination.
Right. Well, that's the thing too, is like dynamic creative also dips in Google way too much into apps. When the reason why they did a responsive display ad, like a dynamic creative, is because they can say, like, if we can actually make it like this size, I can blast this out to like Candy Crush all day long. And so that's the bad part. I like to use native when possible. Sometimes it's not possible, but it's worth to spend, the $50 on Fiverr to get something that's native versus dynamic. Dynamic creative is like, hey, we put this ad in front of this person at this time because they were warm and we knew that they would react to a sale. Okay, cool. Can you do that 1,000 more times next month? No, not at all. Okay, cool. That got me a cheap win, but now I don't know what to do with it. So I usually like to do statics, non-dynamics, because then I can actually run longer term concurrent A/B tests.
Got it. Makes sense. Tyler's got a secondary question here. What's the strategy when it comes to creative testing? Are you keeping the winners within the same campaign or moving them?
Yeah. So for creative testing, we actually on Meta with the winners, we just did a big batch and roll up. We took the last 90 days and about $600,000 in ad spend and brought in our top 10 winners from all 5 campaigns that we had 5 pieces of creative cloned 5 times each, put into one big campaign called like the best of, and then just scale that thing to the moon with 80% of the ad spend. And it's just rocking and rolling. So our creative test, as soon as we kind of hit like a maximum of like 10 amazing creatives, that just kind of gets brought into one and then up levels our performance while we then go through another round of long creatives.
Got it. Okay. Tyler, hopefully that answers your question. Jose V asks, in addition to having Google standard shopping on a TROAS strategy, does it make sense to have a dedicated shopping campaign for remarketing using RLSA running on max clicks manual with high bids? For those who don't know, RLSA is
remarketing
targeting this for those people.
Yeah, so it's either like remarketing list for search ads, remarketing list for shopping ads. So it was traditionally remarketing list for search ads, but it's basically if you've been to the site, you're targeted, not observed in a campaign, and you're purposely going after only those people. So what's interesting, Jose, though, is TROAS actually is just RLSA. That's all that is. So because you're using a TROAS, it's almost redundant using RLSA, because the reason why TROAS can achieve a goal is because it uses half-warm traffic. So it says, okay, John's clicked. He went to the site. He did not stay long, did not put an item in the cart, and didn't really look at anything and left. Now, Ralph clicked. He stayed for 6 minutes, went to 3 pages, put an item into the cart, applied a coupon, then left. So how are you going to get me a 200% TROAS tomorrow? Well, I won't spend any money. I won't bid on John. I'll wait for Ralph. And that's why your TROAS won't spend, because it targets half RLSA. So all Google did is took our good marketers idea that we all created and then just made it to an automated bidding and then charged us 3 times as much for it. The dickhead. So
it's a $60 billion company, John. Like, it's a great idea.
My stock portfolio is happy they did that, but I'm kind of pissed.
Right.
So
my loyalty's there.
Yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, like I'm still going to try to beat them, but if they beat me a little bit, like I'll make some money off it. Right. But the RLSA, so that's why I actually would use the max clicks without the RLSA, because that is going to be cheap, plentiful, high intent traffic. My TROAS will only go after the sniping, because if you use a RLSA and a TROAS, you have 2 campaigns that can't scale. They're both being restricted.
Right. Got it. John Moran's disciple is here. Or what if John Moran's dog is here? Somebody asked about that. Yes, exactly. Good Catholic upbringing. All right. When using smart bidding, could splitting a Google shopping campaign by location lead to better performance? What would be an obvious scenario for this strategy? Says thine disciple.
Yes. So absolutely. I think that the second best way to optimize a campaign before you start to go into like devices and interests and sex and age is location. Location is probably the second thing that you look at after you look at negative keywords in search terms. Honestly, you're going to have seasonality. You're going to have affluence. You're going to have even just the socioeconomic climates in regions. All of that stuff is going to be extremely important. I think that if you're going to say, hey, I have this sweater vest, let's just run in all 50 states in the spring, half of them will use it, but you'll spend 100% in all areas. So obviously your smart bidding over time will be better and you're going to spend more in the better areas. But, kind of, that's why I always say, put your good marketer hat back on and think about, like, if you only could run manual CPC, would you run that product or that service in that area just as much as another area? Usually the answer is no. I mean, you can run in all 50 states if you're like, hey, a sneaker. But if you're saying like a snowshoe, you don't run that in Florida. Right. Sorry, it's just not a good idea. So absolutely the location is second important to, I would say, search term. That's how important it is.
Okay. Very cool. All right. Well, Mark Pomad asks, how do we optimize STD shopping? I'm assuming that's standard as opposed to sexually transmitted disease shopping on max clicks, hero products only.
Mark, talk to your doctor.
You need some antibiotics, I believe.
Find out if Chantix is right for you.
Stop smoking.
I'm just going to say it's good that I don't know any STD.
That's right. Neither do I. Although I used to sell a lot of them actually way back when, but that's a whole other thing.
And I'm glad that we met back then because that would mean I had problems.
That's true. I would have gotten some free samples if you had issues.
So what's interesting is, so here's what I would say with standard shopping on MaxClicks, hero products only. So hero products only, I would actually develop what we call a product MER. So I would use a MaxClicks on shopping, run a medium TROAS. So if you're going to run like a standard shopping MaxClicks for product A, run a 150% TROAS standard shopping for product A as well. Split out the spend however you deem fit, however your individual campaign and performance is working. If you need more clicks or if you need more conversions, yada, yada, yada. But then develop a product MER. So how much did you spend on that product in both campaigns combined? The revenue in app for both campaigns, the global revenue on your, like, let's say Shopify for those products, because you're going to actually see the things that you can't track are going to come direct, organic, yada, yada. And then if we also have an Amazon, look at the product sales and Amazon also since then. So you have to say all spend out on that product and all revenue in on that product. And when you can define a product MER based on that product's profitability, both gross and net, then you can also scale it up or reduce it down if it's not working. But product MER is the best way to scale any sort of ad spend on a product. But the standard shopping on MaxClicks for hero product is step one. You also want to do you're buying the traffic, also buy the conversions, and then also start to measure your global sales of that product.
Right. Makes sense. Product MER, that's not something that I don't think we've talked about it here. We actually talked about it on a strategy call at Tier 11 this past week.
Yep.
Tell people a little bit about that, like what the philosophy is behind that, and especially like when is that appropriate? Is it how many SKUs you have? Does it really matter how many SKUs you have? Like, explain that a little bit more.
Yeah. So for like hero products, you can do it by product. If you have a company that has like 3,000 SKUs, you want to do product category because product category still means they can still target the same audience the same way. They just may buy a different product within the category. Very often, not very often, someone says, you know what, I really need a new garbage can for my kitchen. And then they go to your site and like, holy shit, socks. And they just buy a whole bunch of socks. Like that doesn't happen. But they may buy, a blue one with wheels, one that's automatic. They'll buy some sort of garbage can. So when you have
unless you have zero attention span and you're just like totally all over the place.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like unless
you're on some of those STD drugs, maybe that's it.
Yeah, or unless you're my 6-year-old, like you should have some intent.
We're not selling to 6-year-olds yet, but maybe at some point. Anyway, continue.
The attention span is just but so that's what's nice is if you have too many SKUs for a product MER, do product category. Because then you can still use the same campaigns, the same audiences, and you should see those categories still work. And people that are coming to buy a product in that category do or do not buy a product in the category. But product MER is a good way to identify if I have profit margin that's 15% all the way up to 80%. I'm going to have a lower in-app goal, and I'm going to have a lower product MER goal with a higher amount of profitability. So if you have 15% margins and 80% margins, you don't want to be like, 50 across the board. And then you're going to lose your money on one half. You're going to make money on the other half. And then you're just break even. So as long as you have SKUs that are in different profitability, or if you have SKUs that are in different categories, product MER is a great way to understand where your pitfalls are and where your successes are and where to pull back and where to increase spend. It's the same exact thing that we just saw here, which is I'm spending X amount a month in traffic for this state. And then I look to say, should I increase it, and how is my profitability and how is my inventory in that state?
You're in essence doing that in that campaign. Right.
Exactly. Top line MER is just great for overall health. You want to know where to optimize, you have to go deeper into product category MER.
Yeah. Exactly. That's a killer tip right there. Because I think not a lot of people really look at it that way. And one last question on that, because we did talk about this quite a bit this week. A lot of people talk about hero products. And hero products to me are your best sellers, but your highest profitability. Like if you had to choose between best sellers and most profitable, and a client was coming to you and saying, which product should I scale up or should I focus in on, what would you say as far as that is concerned?
What's really interesting about this question is there's no right or wrong answer, but there's a process as to which you would go through in order to identify if you will be right or wrong in your assumption. So my question would say is if you just run PMax, for example, and you have like 10 products that are just crushing it, are the other products not spending because of what you think and or what you've done or what Google thinks or what Google has done? I've seen this more often than not, that people take 1,000 SKUs, they throw it in a PMAX, they turn it on, Pareto's rule kicks in, and 20% of the products make 80% of the sales. And they're like, well, that must be my best seller. It's like, okay, how much did you spend on the products that didn't sell? 48 cents. Is that enough to rule that out? No.
Right. So if you're using the platform to determine that, you're kind of screwing the pooch here.
Exactly. Which is why I am a big proponent of SPACs. I didn't say anything racist. I said SPACs.
Our editors can edit that out in post-production.
I'm gonna get canceled here. SPACs, SPAC, single product ad campaign. So it's a really good practice if you're like, hey, I have either a category, or if I only have 20 SKUs, spend $50 per day per SKU per campaign. What you're going to do is never want to fall into the pitfall of saying, well, Google didn't like it, so it must not sell. Because then you're saying my company may not be able to sell 80% of its inventory because I don't know if Google didn't know or didn't think it wouldn't sell. So you always want to try your SPACs, your single product ad campaigns, and say, I'm going to put an even playing field. I'm going to give $50 to every single thing and see what happens.
Force it.
Exactly. Force it. So you're forcing spend. Exactly. Don't leave it up to Google doesn't have anybody that wants to buy today, because then no one would have innovated a product ever.
Right.
They'll be using, quill and ink like that. We never would have invented the pen because no one wants to buy a pen. No one's ever heard of the pen. So we always want to make sure that we can test the market in an organic ecosystem by saying a max clicks and a T ROAS, per product. If you want to be like, hey, I really would like to build a mini funnel and see if I can generate demand, but don't say because I didn't capture demand, I could never generate demand. And that's the question you have to ask yourself every time.
Got it. Makes sense. Soren, yes, Soren's been paying you, by the way. So he is actually one of those people that you did monetize. So appreciate that, Soren. Keep paying your money to John Moran. All right. Mike asks, for a maximize clicks campaign with a single form submission that hands off to a salesperson, how is the booking info request sent conversion tracked without a follow-up online step like a purchase?
Okay, let me read this again. For a maximize clicks campaign with a single form submission that hands off to a salesperson, how is the booking request events conversion tracked without a follow-up online step? Well, you can, if someone is going in and I'm assuming you have a booking info request sent as a conversion action.
Right.
When they fill out a form.
That's the way I'm reading it. Yep.
Okay. And then how is it tracked without a follow-up online step like a purchase? I don't quite get that. It'll track the first step, but if you never feed it the second step with like OIC, which is offline importation of conversion actions, if you don't import it, it will only track that. So you're saying, hey, I developed the request, but I don't know if it was good quality, sold, or we made money on it.
Right.
Now you can compare that with backend CRM metrics through UTM parameters. If you'd like to capture about 70% of the actual activity, you're going to miss things like direct email and organic, but you're going to be able to capture at least some intent from that campaign to say, is it even worthwhile to explore and expand? But yeah, if you're going to be tracking only the booking info request sent and saying like, I sent it off and I did this, and I just hope they did something with it, that may have a short shelf life.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to say here. This may or may not be might be an offline conversion. You might have to do like an offline conversion import, or it might be an action that you can actually, utilize within the platform. It depends on what that sale really is. I mean, and how long it actually takes after the initial interaction or in the initial conversion. So it's going to depend. Yeah. All right. So we've got quite a few more questions here. We'll maybe just do a quick rapid fire here. Mike asks a follow-up. I assume this is on the two-step, the strategy for high CPC niches like plumbing in Phoenix, where CPC is at least $50. I have to mention my budget is limited to $150. Oh my God. That's going to be tough.
Yes. So this does work well. Now, I'm going to imagine your high CPC niches like plumbing, if it's most likely not only been tried in a max clicks environment with exact match.
Yeah.
Manual CPC and max clicks are fairly similar, but manual CPC or max clicks will usually whittle down your CPC more. But plumbing in Phoenix it's extremely expensive. Now it's even more expensive if you're just doing like max conversions. So like in relativity, yeah, this will work if compared to like a max conversions or a TCPA campaign, because you're always going to pay cheaper in max clicks versus max conversion. So I mean, it's like a general rule of thumb. Yes, you will. how much more effective and efficient? 20% maybe initially, I would say, because you're probably going to try to find more of those searches that you're not already bidding on. But if you only have a budget of $150 a day, I'm going to imagine, this should work much better for you, because you're going to be able to buy probably 2x the traffic by running this type of campaign. And you're probably going to dedicate $100 to max conversions with a TCPA or TROAS, depending on if you're doing BBB, and $50 to max clicks. I would say it's absolutely worthwhile.
Yeah, totally. I like in an ideal, like in a small budget scenario like that, this seems even more ideal. Yeah, because you're getting more out of less spend, which is in essence what happened with this particular client. So, all right, cool. Elbeck says, thank you so much for providing value. Thank you, John Moran. Would you use Google Shopping or Google Search for engines and transmissions with average prices of $4,000 to $5,000? Would you prioritize phone calls as main call to action?
I would actually do shopping.
Fire.
So definitely shopping, because then you can pre-qualify the people for first and foremost. Especially, so $4,000 and $5,000 people will do this rapid fire. If it's $4,000 or $5,000, immediately, without having to pay Google, you weed out all the people that were wanting to pay $1,000 to $2,000. So that's great. On search, you got to pay Google to then show your price to these people. Shopping allows you to say, I know the manufacturer, I know the title, I know the car it fits on, and I know the price. Do I agree with that? If yes, I click on the ad and then I pay my buck. So shopping for sure, because it weeds out all the people that they can no longer get sticker shock after you pay Google. They'll get sticker shock before you pay Google, which means it's free. Great. So the second thing is the call to action. I would do lead form, phone call, and purchase. You want to feed it as much lead data as well as sale data, because your people may not want to buy a $5,000 transmission and just risk it. They're going to want to know freight, compatibility, warranty, return. They want to know all that. So you may have a whole bunch of phone calls. But a quick pro tip is to use a tool like CallRails, Call Tracking Metrics, for example, and import only the good quality phone calls, because then you can see the search terms, products, and all the other stuff, and you're feeding Google into a big algorithm. The quality phone call is not just, hey, do you guys have an 86 Honda? No, only 87. Ah, damn it. And you're like, conversion, yay. And then boom, it gets pushed. So only import the good quality conversions.
Most agencies would call that a good conversion, though, John. They did their job. I might be sidetracked here because I'm expecting a furniture delivery, and the guys are here, so we're going to answer as many questions as we can. Can we go a little bit over today? How are you doing on time?
Yeah, I think my meeting is with you.
Yeah, the next. Oh, oddly enough.
So hey,
you guys are cutting into my one-on-one with John time. All right, well, we'll do that for the sake of the Tier 11 Live. All right, Mike asked another question. What's the conversion goal for Maximize Clicks campaign?
Whatever you want. It's maximize clicks. It does not take into consideration conversions at all. So it's whatever. There is no right or wrong answer. It's just what is going to tell you if you think it's working or not. But you're using maximize clicks to feed into your other campaign. So it's really a moot point. You don't even need to actually track conversion if you don't want.
Makes sense. All right, cool. Very smart question here from Allison Matthews. Are all the keywords in a TCPA campaign set to broad match? Did you set a max CPC on the max clicks campaign?
So in the TCPA campaign, it's always broad match, because what you're doing is you're allowing the broad match keyword to bid for wherever that person is in their journey in the future, even if they don't choose the right keyword to show intent. So when you get an exact match first click max clicks, it's like, I want to have red shoe. And then your TCPA using broad match on, boot is going to go bid for red shoe, because they know like Terry is ready to come back and they're searching again. So give me the freedom to go after Terry, because I know Terry's going to buy. And that's why you keep broad match. On the max CPC, on the max clicks campaign, I never set any sort of CPC caps, because I need extremely high quality, high intent, first clicked, first considered ads to bring them to me first. So I want a high placement. So I never purposely focus on lower quality traffic for the first click. You want high quality traffic for the first click. But it's going to be cheaper than your broad match TCPA campaign.
Man, that Allison Matthews, she knows her Google ads, doesn't she?
Yeah.
All right. 33 big money. But a high intent person can also click on a max clicks campaign, not the top ranking max conversion $10 CPC ad.
Yes. Yeah. So what's the reason why a high intent person, you want the high intent person to actually click on a max clicks campaign, because that high intent person that clicks on the max clicks campaign, you're going to pay 75% less for, but it doesn't mean they're not going to buy now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's perfect. So that's what you want. You want Google to say, I don't think, or I don't know. And you're like, well, okay, but I still believe they're high intent because of my search term and because of the keyword I'm bidding on. So I'll still take them, but I'll give you 75% less, Google. And they're like, oh, okay, here you go. And they buy anyway. You're like, boom. That's why my max clicks campaign and my TCPA campaign have 75% different CPC, but the same CPA.
Yeah. Crazy. Unbelievable. All right. Soren's back. I've been trying on a client PMAX and search for specific keywords with high budget and high CPA on the search exact match keywords. Soon I built the PMAX assets, search stopped spending.
Yep. Yeah. The update is really only about shopping. PMAX will still kind of take priority against everything else, which is also why my feeder strategy is using a feed only PMAX so that it can't eat into my search.
Yeah. Yeah, so PMAX is running mostly shopping anyway. I find it weird that it died. Any thoughts?
Yeah, do what I did and hyper segment. So keep it on like something very small, specific. Like don't use this strategy for your entire account. Just use it for like a very simplistic landing page or a very specific product. If you just set PMAX on to like all pages and all products, your entire account goes away.
Got it. All right. The guys are at the door. I'm going to mute here. And can you read the questions off?
Yeah, I'm going to keep going.
All right.
It won't come up on the screen. Yeah, right. It won't come up on the screen here, but I'm just going to read them off.
Yeah, just read them off. We're good. All right. Hang on. I'll be right back.
You got it. All right. So what other topics do you want to hear more from John and Ralph on? Oh, that was tier 11. I'm just kidding. All right. Ready? Let's do this one here. How do you come up with new strategies? What is your testing methodology? I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I take very long showers and I do most of my thinking there. And it sounds like a joke, but it's not. Like I will take 30 to 40 minutes in the shower. And I don't know why my brain's just like, you know what? I wonder if. And I've just always been like a tinkerer in my investing career. In other hobbies like lock picking, like I don't know why I want to find out a way to get past something. I don't know what it is in my brain that makes me think this way. But like when I was like, you know what, I wonder if I can pick that lock or I can actually like outbeat the market or if I can like, get a better optimization than Google. I was never a person that was just like, hey, the status quo was good enough. So my strategies are always more towards how do I hit a goal for the client? And then what makes the most amount of sense logically in a human environment. And that was the strategy that we came up with a feeder strategy is like, if I was a person that was going to do a search for something that I would want to bid on, does it matter if I'm using automated bidding or not? And it's like, well, actually, no. So that was like, okay, it makes sense to just bid on it anyway at the same time. And so we just started like kind of testing and iterating and optimizing that kind of stuff. So my new strategies are literally just on, and Ralph, I think you missed this, is literally just me in the shower for 30 minutes. I'm just like, it just comes to me. I don't know why. It's just, I've always been that way. I was saying I tried lock picking because I wanted to get past something. I like try to outpace the market with my own like structured portfolio account and stock trading. Same thing with Google Ads. Like I'm just trying to look for that increased efficiency that actually makes my life easier.
Yeah. So it's this question right here, which is John Moran's shower. One of these days we're going to do a tier 11 live while you're in the shower.
That's going to be the new person
that's your hair
week, like John Moran's faucet. Like that's going to come up next.
John Moran's shower head, shower curtain.
Right.
Oh my God. That's great. And yeah, I don't know where John Moran's dog is. That was a very good question. Let's see. Next question here. Let's do these quick because we don't, we need our time too. I mean, come on, people. All right. Have you tried the feeder strategy driving traffic from Meta and running conversions on Google? Hey, that's a great question, actually.
Yes, sort of. So what I want to do is I want to keep them isolated because any traffic you send from one campaign will automatically be tracked by another campaign. So PMAX, TCPA, ROAS, all that stuff is absolutely going to run that way. My theory is I want to test them both individually on singular channels first and then marry them later. So that's part 2 to the strategy.
Perfect. Brandon has a question here. Let's see. Why is PMAX not able to be scaled? We run PMAX. It does well for a while, and then costs start going up.
Yes, sir. So what ends up happening with PMAX is it reserves about 40% of its daily ad spend for remarketing. And it remarkets not only its traffic, it remarkets omni-channel traffic. So you've probably seen this, Brandon, where it's like, oh, Meta's starting to decline. And now PMAX is starting to decline. Oh, Meta's having a great day. And PMAX is having a great day. You usually see PMAX follow Meta like right there, right afterwards. So what ends up happening is because it can't be scaled is because every dollar you put in gets you 60 cents worth of cold traffic. So just by the nature, your return on your investment to cold traffic is already at a 40% loss. Now, if you have the feeder strategy uses this principle where PMax says, okay, as long as you just give me a whole bunch of free traffic that are about to buy, I will take 100% credit for it.
Sure.
That's a finite audience coming from a third party.
Right.
PMax was not responsible to generate that, which means it, by definition, cannot scale. So that's why PMax is very difficult to scale, because it only focuses on one thing. Is it reach? Nope. Frequency? No. Awareness? No. Impressions? No. Conversions. It only focuses on conversions. So by definition, if a person is not going to convert, it's not going to go after them. How do you generate demand that way? Can't be done. So that's why Meta spanks PMax in cold traffic and prospecting. And that's also the reason why PMax cannot scale on its own.
Very cool. Somebody thinks that you're the goat, and that makes me the horse's ass, I think. Anyway. All right. Thank you for that. Juan, this question is specifically for self-storage facilities, which was a follow-up from Brandon before. I think we covered that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, what's funny is PMax is actually pretty good in self-storage facilities, but I would still run search alongside of it if you can, because PMax does very well locally, but is also going to spend a lot of money display remarketing to people that probably already have a locker at your storage facility.
Got it. Makes sense. Mike Griffin, typically start off with enhanced CPC for new accounts campaigns and then migrate to target CPA ROAS. If I can't meet my goals with an enhanced CPC going away, which strategy should I replace it with?
Here's a good tip, Mike. So when you're starting out, enhanced CPC won't work for you, actually. Manual CPC will. The reason why starting off with an enhanced CPC is you're saying, I want to overlay on a historical conversion optimization model of an algorithm to start me off on something that's never had a conversion before. So starting off on manual CPC is going to be just like starting off on enhanced CPC, but you're just going to have to start high and then move low. My opinion, do that with Max Clicks. Max Clicks used to start low, then raise its bid. Max Clicks now starts high and then drops its bid. So start with Max Clicks. It actually probably worked better for you than enhanced CPC, because it is going to buy all the traffic first. And enhanced CPC has no historical precedence to say I should bid higher for this person because they usually convert. There is no usually converts. So the bid that it sets is arbitrarily high. So do that with Max Clicks, work your way down, and you're actually going to see your click-through rate and your conversion start to drop as the CPC declines. That's the point where you're like, aha, that's where my manual CPC should be. Hold there for a while, gain more conversions, and then switch to a TCPA or TROAS.
Sounds good. They delivered the piece of furniture, by the way. Everybody. All right. We'll go 2 more minutes here just to get everyone's question.
Yeah, I was going to say, did the statue of Ralph get delivered?
No, it's a statue of John.
There you go.
One that you sent me. All right. Continue to start off. This was, I think you answered that one. All right. What's the third-party tool you use for accounts to track NCAC? Oh, very good question, John Ho. Wicked Reports.
Yeah.
Wicked Reports. Now, you can buy Wicked Reports. We also use another edge tag, which we will get to this in a later date. We are not talking about it quite yet. We don't even have the page up in Tier 11 right now. Something called the Tier 11 Data Suite, which actually sort of cleans the data using another tool called Blotout. So it makes Wicked Reports even more effective, but we'll talk about that at a later date. But yeah, Wicked Reports is the best one that we see right now, especially for the mid-market, because it's actual data.
Yeah.
And plus we love Scott. So anyway, Luis says, how much can we believe Google Ads data before the user data? The data seems questionable at times. Well, there you go. That's the subject of this entire YouTube live.
Yep. So know about this. Everyone's been poised to believe that Google knows if Lewis wants to buy a sock on Tuesday. That's not the case. What ends up happening is Google gets a first click from Lewis that wants to buy a sock, and then Google waits for Lewis to go searching for socks again, and then bids hard for that person and buys. So it predicts the future by taking half unknowns and then pairing them with the other half of knowns with first click cold, second click warm, first click cold, second click warm. That's why it won't spend. It's waiting for the warm. But if you set your goal to a 300% TROAS or 200% TROAS, you'll sometimes find you get the same amount of traffic. Your CPC is just more expensive when you're willing to give up more of a profit. Yeah. And that's why the feeder strategy is gold.
that is it. Well, everybody,
You did it. You got them all.
We did it. We got them all. That's pretty damn good. Props to us, I suppose. We'll be back again next week, right?
Yeah.
Like that's our goal here. We're gonna get rid of that comment there. But yeah, thank you so much for everybody who attends these, and really appreciate all the questions and the interactivity. The sun is setting here in Maine. I'm actually running out of space. In like 5 minutes, my face will be like full on in the sun. So thank you so much, John Moran, for yet another Tier 11 Live. And we will see you all next Friday, same time, same channel.
See you, everybody. Bye.
Talk to you. See you.